Hello and welcome. I'm Gabrielle Reyes, the Hot Yoga Doctor. For years, I've been helping thousands of students around the world with my approach to hot yoga. My mission is to help you take the struggle out of your hot yoga practice and find the sweet spot in every pose. With the help of yoga, together we can facilitate amazing personal growth, both creating internal peace and joy, and from there, spreading it around. Today, I want to introduce you to something monumental that could just about transform your yoga practice, if not your life. It's a simple technique, but as I say, some of the most profound agents of change can often be overlooked because they are so simple. To fill you in a little, I was a teacher training the better part of 10 years ago, and during a chance exchange of opinion in the hotel's jacuzzi where most of us were staying, a buddy of mine and I were having a conversation, and he said something to me that had an immediate effect that contributed to a great change. The way I stand, the way I do and teach yoga, and the way I feel in my body. Yes, I know, that sounds definitely a little overdramatic. You see, the vast majority of us don't use our bodies correctly. You and I are in danger of developing all sorts of problems with our skeletal and muscular systems simply by doing what feels normal. Let me explain. Unfortunately, for most of us, and perhaps maybe even it's cultural, what feels normal is being in a body that puts up with aches and pains and even stands by, watches it and experiences it degenerating, and often quite passively. Over time, your state of normal, which used to feel good, now only feels pretty good, because you may have accepted these changes, only choosing to do something about them when it caused you a bit of discomfort, in pain, or maybe even some movement difficulty. Hey, I bet some of you even arrived at your first hot yoga class because of it. Have you ever learned to live with something annoying or even painful? Have you got a niggle in your lower back or a pain in your neck? Do you get headaches sometimes, or do you get them ever? Do you grind your teeth? Have you got regular or persistent pain in your shoulders and your back? What about pains down the legs or foot aches? What have you been putting up with? Or what did you put up before you started your yoga? You may now be a regular frequent yoga practitioner, in which case your state of normal is far superior than non-yogis. But if you don't set up and keep the right conditions in your body, then there will be changes. But they will happen a lot slower, but they will happen. So what if you do stand by and watch what happens? Look around you and see what people suffer from. Arthritis, humpback, dowager's humps, or all sorts of systemic problems and difficulties in mobility. For example, my mum doesn't have a hump, but I can see the effects of years of gravity and only a little yoga. Don't get me wrong. My mum is vibrant, energetic and active, but over the decades I have watched what was once a straight back become slightly rounded, which has now progressed to something a little more pronounced. The sad thing is, you can see these effects start early. Check out some teenagers at the mall. If your shoulders are not in the optimum position, then you may not suffer from it now, but over many years of the same habits, gravity and the almost invisible effects will creep up on you and affect changes in your muscular and skeletal structures. And one day, perhaps you will look and see the accumulated effects reflected in poor posture. But I do yoga, I can hear you say. As I said before, you can dramatically reduce the effects I described before by practicing yoga. You'll have a body that naturally resists disease far more effectively and easily, and is physically and emotionally far more resilient. Now, even if you have a body that is protected because you have great posture, the techniques I will show you today will help you avoid shoulder and rotator cuff damage that is caused by damaging movements. You may not even realize that there is a right and a wrong way to lift your arms up over your head. Most yogis do it the wrong way, or they complicate the move by introducing unnecessary action. You see, it's all related. So let me show you how you can just about bulletproof your body to further developing postural problems, and will have you instantly feeling better in your own skin. The amazing thing about emotions and physiology is that they are inextricably linked. Just for a moment, I would love for you to have this little experience. Now slouch in your chair, look down, round over, even frown a bit, and now say slowly and kind of dull, I feel fabulous. Now try this. Stand up straight, smile, punch the air, look around wide-eyed, and now say excitedly, I feel really depressed. Now, unless you're the exception to prove the rule, you probably felt pretty poor in the first example and pretty darn good in the second, despite what your words were saying. One of the reasons yoga feels so great in your body is because you imbue your body and mind with the physiology of happiness. You learn great posture, and this can take some time. But what if I could teach you a way to shortcut your path to this just by remembering and reciting 5 words to yourself? Now, these are the same 5 words I tell my students and the same 5 words I've been telling myself for years. A physiology of happiness is not only obvious, it's kind of contagious. I know this because it's happened to me and many hundreds of my students, or at least the ones who've bothered to tell me. They tell me that other people notice that they look great. Others say to them stuff like, what have you been doing? You look so well. You look younger. You look so happy. I'm sure it's probably happened to you. This is about the yoga, the effects of cleansing your body emotionally and physically, and it's about your own emotional transformation and the way your lower levels of stress are reflected in a happier demeanour. The body opens up figuratively and physically. Circulation improves, skin looks vibrant and flushed. You may not be taller, but you look more upright. Today, I'm going to demonstrate the effect of this transformational tool with some pre-recorded snippets. And in order to do that, I'm firstly going to stand in a way that we see a vast majority of people doing as a matter of course. You'll see signs of this everywhere you go. Shoulders rounded forward. Chest collapses in. The head juts forward a little bit as well. And the hips, the pelvis rotates and the hips are positioned forward a bit. Now, not only is this pretty unattractive, it's definitely not a vibrant posture, nor does it feel good in your body. It kind of feels lazy. So if you compare it back to when you were punching the air, you really can't help but feel good. When you first attend hot yoga classes, you have to develop quite some strength in your body in perhaps a different way than you've relied on in the past. It's really interesting that you start to notice a fundamental shift in the way you feel in your body. Where previous to yoga, slouching was quite comfortable, quite quickly you feel really lazy and very uncomfortable when you slouch. And so the reverse becomes true. You find it difficult to slouch, and sitting tall and straight becomes really easy. When I look around at people in the street and particularly notice either teenagers slouching or young women with their hips protruding and rounded shoulders or older folks with their dowager's humps, all I have to do is see that to trigger an instant fix which makes me feel fabulous if I'm not feeling fabulous already.